Does your furry friend take over your bed every night? It's time to reclaim your space while giving them the comfort they deserve with the coldest, cozy dog bed. Don't wait. Check out the link in the video description to buy now on Amazon.
Geneva, no stranger to the super-rich, had never seen anything like it. Touted as the greatest auction of the 20th century, many of the world's wealthiest and most glamorous people had gathered in a vast circus tent in the grounds of the Beau Rivage Hotel for a chance to bid on the Duchess of Windsor's fabulous jewelry collection. The best restaurants and hotels were full. Caviar, truffles, and foie gras were in short supply. The great champagne houses were releasing restricted vintages at ridiculous prices to make a killing. Crammed into the tent, on the shores of Lake Geneva, were 1,500 guests. Another 700 watched on closed-circuit TV in the ballroom. Plainclothes detectives, in rented dinner jackets and ball gowns, tried to blend in. Sotheby's, the venerable English auction house, was offering 306 lots to the highest bidders, including the Duchess's favorite flamingo brooch, the bird's plumes set with emeralds, rubies, and sapphires, and her huge, mogul emerald engagement ring. This was a chance not just to possess a brilliant cut diamond bracelet or emerald-studded earrings, but to buy a slice of history, a piece of the greatest, most scandalous, and enduring love affair of modern times. King Edward VIII's infatuation with Wallis Simpson, an American divorcee, was so all-consuming he had given up the throne for her in 1936. Both before their marriage and during their years of exile, he had showered her with jewelry, including a birthday gift of a Burmese ruby and diamond necklace, which would fetch £2 million. Many pieces were inscribed with pet names or little love notes. The sale caused a sensation. When the collection was shown in Manhattan, the crowds were such that the police had to be called. It was estimated Sotheby's made £600,000 even before Nicholas Rayner, the auction house's jewelry expert, raised his gavel. What was Rayner, a suave old Etonian, thinking that day in April 1987 as he threaded his way through the crowd and bounded up the steps of the auctioneer's rostrum? It was the biggest day of his professional life. But he would know, of course, that the backstory to the Duchess of Windsor's jewelry collection wasn't at all as romantic as many of the bidders fondly imagined. Rather, it was a messy, murky business, beset by rumors of theft, deceit and underhand dealing, and a mysterious burglary that looked very much like an inside job. Perhaps the fact that the pieces concerned had been in the Duchess's possession at the time of her death was enough to qualify them as truly hers as far as Sotheby's was concerned, but unanswered questions remain even today. Edward, the eldest son of George V, first met Wallis Simpson, then 35, at a party given by his then-mistress, Thelma, Viscountess Furness, in 1931. Their affair raised eyebrows in high society and hackles within the royal family. Edward's mother, Queen Mary, soon became alarmed by stories about the glittering Mrs. Simpson, who dripped in new jewels and clothes. Mrs. Simpson certainly did like her jewelry. Once asked how she selected which pieces to wear, she replied brusquely, "A fool would know that with tweeds or other daytime clothes one wears gold and with evening clothes one wears platinum." Queen Mary was assured by her son's circle that the jewels were paste. But her instinct proved correct. When George V fell ill, and suspecting her wayward son might soon be king, she was horrified to discover that Edward had gifted the American woman £50,000 worth of jewels at Christmas and a further £60,000 worth a week later to celebrate the new year. Those figures would be £2.9 million and £3.5 million today. If Edward had wanted to keep Mrs. Simpson as his mistress, that might have been acceptable. But he was determined to marry her. She sought a divorce from businessman Ernest Simpson, her second husband. In January 1936, what had been a cause for disapproval turned into a crisis when George V died. Wallis obtained her decree nisi in October of that year, and Edward made it clear his plan had not changed. He wanted her to be his wife, even in the face of staunch opposition from the British establishment. Divorcees were not allowed to remarry in church, and Edward was now head of the Church of England. His marriage to Mrs. Simpson would not, be sanctioned by senior clergy. Prime Minister Stanley Baldwin warned the king that the British public would not accept the prospect of